Grace, the spirit guide, moved softly through the woods. She was not bound by step or weight. Her form was more like a breath, gentle, steady, always there and never hurried. The forest welcomed her. The air seemed to brighten when she passed, and the trees, tall and wide with age, leaned just slightly closer, as though to listen. The leaves above were beginning to shift with the season. Some held to deep greens, rich and strong. Others blushed with hints of amber and gold. A few had already turned, crisp edges curling, ready to let go. Sunlight fell between them in quiet beams, slender streams of light that seemed to hang in the air like threads of silver. Grace paused. She breathed, though she did not need to. Inhaling slowly, the sound like wind through reeds. Exhaling, the sound of still water. Her presence was steady, a rhythm the forest understood. She was watching two women who had come into the woods together. They walked the narrow path with slow care, voices low. One carried a woven basket with a cloth draped over the top. The other kept close, her hand brushing her friend's arm now and then, as though to remind her, I am here. Grace knew them. She had watched their paths cross long ago, though neither woman had seen her then. Their friendship had grown from small beginnings, shared work in a garden, the quiet talk of seasons, the mending of tools at the end of a long day. From that, trust had bloomed. And now their bond was something like the roots of the trees around them, hidden beneath, strong, steady, holding both in place. The women stopped near a clearing where the light touched the ground in wide circles. They set the basket down, easing onto a fallen log, the bark softened by moss. Grace stood close, though unseen, letting her own quiet presence surround them like hair. The first woman lifted the cloth from the basket. She drew out a loaf of bread, wrapped and still warm, its scent mingling with pine and damp earth. The second woman laughed softly, a sound like leaves shaking in a breeze. She reached out as the bread was broken and passed to her. They ate slowly, breaking pieces with care, sharing without words. Grace watched their hands, the way they moved with small kindnesses, one pouring water from a flask, holding it out first, the other tucking the cloth back into the basket so it would not fall. The rhythm of giving and receiving was simple, even ordinary, and yet it carried something more. The forest seemed to lean closer to them. Tiny sparks of life stirred at the edges of sight. A squirrel darted through underbrush, pausing only long enough to lift its head before vanishing again. A line of ants moved with single-minded purpose along a route. Above, a bird shifted its wings, scattering a few feathers of sound into the air. Grace breathed with them, in, out. Her stillness gave weight to the moment, as though the whole forest wanted to slow and match their pace. The second woman, after a long silence, spoke. Her voice was low, careful, carrying something she had held for days. She spoke of her worry, a season of change coming, uncertain and perhaps lonely. She did not cry. She simply said the truth, and it sat there like a stone on the moss. The first woman reached for her hand. Their fingers touched, folded, held. No words came then. None were needed. The touch itself was answer enough, a reminder of roots unseen, a promise of company through whatever season might arrive. Grace let her form soften further, almost dissolving into light. She sent a slow current of warmth across the clearing. The women could not name it, but they felt it. The sense of being held by something beyond themselves. Like the forest was leaning in. Like the air itself was breathing with them. Sunlight shifted, scattering new patterns through the branches. The colours deepened, gold burning brighter, green holding firmer, amber glowing with quiet fire. Every leaf seemed alive with its own small spark. The stream nearby caught the light as well, flashing with silver as it bent around stone. The women lingered. They spoke little, but when they did, it was easy and true. They laughed once, not loud, but with the softness of people who had shared many seasons together. They ate, they breathed, they rested in the stillness that only woods could hold. Grace knew she would walk with them again, not always seen, not always near, but always ready. Her work was not to lead them to answers, but to remind them of what was already steady beneath their feet. Roots, breath, the rhythm of one hand in another. As the women rose and gathered their basket, Grace watched them step back onto the path. Their shadows stretched long in the late night. Their steps matched, unhurried, their bodies leaning close. She breathed again, slow and deep, letting the exhale move through the branches. The trees stirred, 1,000 leaves trembled, then settled back into stillness. The forest returned to quiet, yet the quiet was not empty. It held warmth and memory and promise. Grace remained, standing where they had sat, her presence no more than a soft glow between trunks. She watched the play of light through the leaves, golden and green, a gentle dance above. And as she breathed, she knew the truth she carried, that every bond, when tended with care, becomes its own forest, deep, rooted, alive with the sparks of life, and within it no one ever walks alone.